So I think that a lot of the other countries, well, many of them weren't the countries that we know them now, the modern states that we know them now. And in some sense, these countries, Spain, Italy, Germany, Austria, kind of formed themselves against the French Revolution and the French revolutionary ideal. So in some sense, what it meant to be Spanish was not to be French. What it meant to be Italian was not to be French. What it meant to be German was not to be French. And the idea of a folk culture and folk music, Spanish folk dancing, Italian, folk culture, German folk dancing, all of that is a kind of celebration of these other folks, we could say, right? Who will not bend to the onward march of French civilization, which is going to transform, all of them into modern countries. So I think that our whole view of Europe is shaped by those Napoleonic Wars.
I only have a moment or two left, and just a final thought as we wrap up the Great Louisiana Purchase and what it meant for the future of our great country.
What did you do?
How did European observers view America after the deal was made? And where were Americans too? We didn't really talk about whether they now thought this was a great idea or not at the time.
Definitely the Americans were consistently in favor of westward expansion, of greater access to greater land. And the idea that any man could get territory of his own, get property of his own, and start a farm was central to the beginnings of the American dream. And so it's very popular with the Americans. And the Europeans, right? I mean, we can never forget that we have in St. Louis, above the Mississippi, overlooking the Mississippi, that beautiful statue of King St. Louis, right? That this was once upon a time French territory, and it's another route that Catholicism comes into the American bloodstream is through that French territory, along with the Irish immigration, which we can talk about later. But it's definitely a big moment for American Catholics.
Did historians, where are they? Do they believe that Napoleon regretted the sale later in life? There had to be some regret. I'm sure the French think, what do we do? But what are historians? How do they view Napoleon? And was there regret for the making the sale?
I bet the fuck out of my time.
So there's a combination. Some historians heroize Napoleon as the great man of history, right, who sort of takes his own destiny and his nation's destiny into his own hands. But there's definitely a reaction against the great man theory of history, and great men in history can be very dangerous.
Don't let me pass the taco shop this time, guys.
And so sometimes their high ideals can turn into ideology that justifies all kinds of violence and destruction of rights and liberties. So there's definitely a mixed view of Napoleon.
Well, Doctor, I gotta leave it there because I am going to be praying the chaplet in about a minute. But thank you for taking us once again through our nation's history and unpacking it for us. I look forward to our next conversation, which should be soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
God bless you. That's Dr. Susan Hansen. And you can join her every Tuesday. She tends to join me every Tuesday afternoon around 4 Central, 5 Eastern. I had the great opportunity to speak to her today because we didn't have a chance earlier in the week. But if you missed any of the series, just do a search for Countdown to 250 or Rediscovering America is kind of what we've been branding it as. And I'm telling you, you'd love it. We'll take it from our founding fathers, the revolution, and so much more. Right now, if you have a need, call me. We'll pray about it.
Talk that brings
Christ to the world.
All right, child.
Always crystal clear.
I'll be back.
Smart speaker.
And
I'll be back.
relevant radio.
I'll be back.